Why, hi there, it's Uncle Ron, and we haven't done one of my random thoughts or Uncle Ron's thoughts in a while, so now is probably a good time to do that as I get comfy here as we tape this on the 2nd of December 2025. So let's see, what are we doing here? The drive for 2,000 subs for the YouTube channel. We're pretty close. I think the last time I looked, I needed 3. So for all of you who have subscribed over the years and might watch on occasion, thank you so much. Tell your friends. We'd like to get over 2,000, and that's the first time in 7 years I've ever asked for subs. Probably the last time I ever asked for subs, too. But again, thanks. It's been a hot minute since I've done one of these, and over the week I took advantage of some of the Black Friday sales to get some non-sports games. I bought some chess stuff. I'm not really sure if that I'm actually good at it, or trying to learn it, or trying to figure out the right open, or who I should watch. I know Anna Kramling. She's pretty good. Um, I can beat. What did I get? It's Lucas Chess. I think is the one that actually didn't have to pay for. It actually has a tutor built in. And it has different. It's designed for elementary school kids, and I can beat the first 3. So I think I can beat the donkey, the bear, and the bull. But I can't beat a 500 elo player. Anyway, one of the sports things that I got was 4 seasons of Solitaire Pro Football. Some that I'm missing. I now have the run between 77 and 95, I think it is. All those seasons in anticipation for Action PC Football next year being able to have the manual entry put into it, so I can actually show you the game, or show you some cards and dice football. It's one of the things I was thinking about, because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it and how much that I mainly keep track of. What I ended up doing was the parent, or the not parent teacher, a teacher student game. It was the 1994 game between the San Francisco 49ers, who won the Super Bowl in rather convincing fashion that year over the San Diego Chargers, over the Kansas City Chiefs. Steve Young versus Joe Montana, and Joe Montana's last year. I still have to do the stats for the game, but as I'm playing it and writing down the results, it just, I wasn't calling the game in my head. Several key points to the game. I won't know until I do the stats how many times San Francisco ran the ball, but it seemed to me I could kind of see in my head, or hear in my head, Steve Young telling, was it George Seifert? Let me loose. Let me throw the football, because they ran it in Solitaire Pro Football. Let me back up. They have play cards, and you do some adjustments, and then look at a chart, and then you pull that card for the team, and it says what you should be doing on first down and down and distance, what the plays are. Because in Solitaire Pro, there's only 3 plays. There's run, there's pass, and there's long pass. And for some people, that's just not going to be enough football, along with 6 defenses, which are on the fast action cards. Dave Gardner has done quite a few videos on it and shows it off quite well. So anyway, I pulled those 2 teams out because you would think that if Steve Young and the 49ers beat Joe Montana, I think I saw that Montana won. That game was in Kansas City in real life, and I didn't realize that before I pulled those 2 teams out. Anyway, it seemed to me that the rolling or flipping the cards for the play call, that they were running the ball way too much. San Francisco. Now, it may not be true. Like I said, haven't done the stats. And so in my head, I could get the NFL films of Young just going to this offensive coordinator, man, let me loose, let me loose, let me loose, let me throw the ball, let me throw the ball. And I believe, hold on one second here. It was scoreless after 1. And Montana was just kind of doing what he did. Kansas City, the 94 Chiefs, really were the island of misfit toys. Not only do they have Joe Montana, who was cast off at the end of his career, but they also had Marcus Allen out of the backfield, who could still run and still catch, along with Kimball Anders. I believe was their other one here. Anyway, I believe it was. Hold on, I can look this up because I have the notepad around here somewhere. Let me look. Now that I mention it, it was 7-3 Kansas City at the half, with 5 minutes and 30 seconds to go. Joe Montana found Anders. Extra point was good. So San Francisco finally drives it down at the end of the first half. They finally turn Young loose and boom, boom, boom. Complete pass, complete pass, complete pass. But the drive stalls at the Kansas City 10, and with 30 seconds to go, they hit the field goal. 7-3 at the half. Young was flushed out of the pocket quite a bit, got sacked a few times. I mean, Kansas City's defense was pretty stout. The only scoring in the third quarter was a end around from the 3. One of the weird things about card and dice games is that when you get a play call like that, you just never know what's going to come up. It's like Carl Yastrzemski being thrown out trying to steal third to end a ball game, which I've had playing Skeetersoft. Absolutely true. Drove me nuts, but you can't change it. So it's 14-3 after 3, Kansas City. And then finally, San Francisco got let loose. 2-yard plunge by Logan. First play of the fourth quarter to make it 14-10. And then after an Elliott field goal with 9:15 to go, made it 17-10. They marched it down the field in San Francisco. William Floyd, a nasty plunge, 17-17 with 5 to go. The game went to over. In fact, San Francisco had the chance to win. They're driving it down the field, and Young threw a pick. Kansas City forced overtime. They won the toss, and that was it. So in my head, as we're playing this, it's not the announcers or that. It's the slow-motion NFL films. It's the Sam Spence music. It's all that music that we grew up with. That's what I was hearing. It was also such a personal experience that even if I was able to stream it, it wouldn't have meant so much to you. Gardner has a very good line about the hobby in general. It's, when you're excited and you post a project and tell me about it or tell the world about it, it's your birthday. And no one is going to be as excited about it as you are for what you're doing. And I'm playing this fantastic football game. Now, the other thing is because it's card and dice and I'm recording each play result, it's taking me a half hour to play a quarter, which is fine. You play at your own pace. I play on the computer. There's nothing to put away. The cat behind me isn't going to knock anything over. You go as you go. And so but you kind of like a good book. That's what I was thinking. It became like a good book where you didn't want to put it down. And I don't know if I ever talked about this in the show when I was on Digital Dice or in one of these. Cards and dice to me is like a good book. What works for me in gaming is something that not only tells me a story, but I can visualize everything in my head. And so it plays out for me. It would be like if I sat there and, put on the mythical YouTube and had it spin up a game and watch the game play out. Now you're pulling the strings with it and you're recording the rolls, or strap basketball for me is also the same way. You're determining what the shots are, and you can kind of see the pass and where they're shooting it from. And I've done a couple of those, but there's enough of a visual there. They could get away with streaming what is essentially a radio broadcast. So, yeah, Cards and Dice in its purest form is a book that you are telling your own story to. And you don't know how it's going to end, if it's a blowout, if it's close, what the crazy hook is going to be. Does your favorite player get hurt? Does your favorite player win the ball game? Whatever it is, you've lived that experience. It plays out in your head, much like you would if you sat through a movie or a TV show or watched your favorite game. But it's all manual. You're the one that does all the work for it. And again, this goes on for the quicker play games too. Maybe you're, anticipating the result for something like that. if you're doing like a shootout hockey or a fast drive football, something that kind of plays out in a possession by possession, family football or family football plus, and look for Mike in the Truck is about to release that in card form. So keep an eye on that if you're not a member of Digital Dice on Facebook or Sports Sims and Replays, where he's doing that. So good luck to Mike on that. Where it's a possession by possession, and maybe you imagine that you got to go do errands. It's Christmas time. Maybe you're stuck Christmas shopping. You come out and so finally scored on it. Whatever it is, you're telling yourself the story as you write the story. That's one of the things I talked about in an article I did for Jamie Marshall Sports Gaming Journal. You're writing the story, and it's intimate and it's personal. And yeah, you can share it. A friend of mine was doing a game yesterday between in strap basketball between, I believe it was the 69-70 New York Knicks and the 92-93 Bulls. Now, I just did a game between the 69-70 New York Knicks and the 93-94 New York Knicks and streamed it. But again, there are some visuals in strat. It's not a pure card and dice game. However, there's not much to look at, which gets to the second part of this rant that I've only kind of partially thought through. A computer game is like a movie. You can see things play out in front of you, which is why I think the Action PC line of sports works out so well. It's not necessarily you're looking to find out on the card whether Jose Canseco struck out or Roger Staubach was able to find Preston Pearson on a 3-yard screen. You're seeing that play out in front of you. It's the same mechanics. It's all random number generators. You figure out what you want to do. It flips behind the scenes, the fast action card. It plays out. We're all surprised together. And if you remember what I wrote for Jamie Marshall's magazine, it's a case of, look, we're writing this story together. It's something that it's a shared experience. And when the games kind of go off the rails a bit, then you fill in with the chat and be nice, and you fill in and chat and do, have a conversation. Oh, by the way, they score again. And it's a completely different experience with the computers, no less accurate. In fact, it can be more accurate because you can do more things behind the scenes on a computer than you can with pure cards and dice. But it's a much more communal experience, I think is what I'm trying to say, when you try to stream it, than a pure card and dice. How can I show this? How do I slow it down enough to explain it to the person that's watching and not be bored? And again, there's nothing wrong with the movie experience. I mean, I've done 1,600 ball games of some sort, mostly Action PC baseball, and it works because it gives you, the viewer out there, something to look at. You can follow along. There's a scoreboard on the screen. I'm giving you the score. I'm telling you somewhat what the batters did in the process. So you're not having to do all the guesswork on where do I look on the card for the dice roll and all that. Again, to me, cards and dice is a much more intimate personal experience, like you would if you were reading a book. I mean, if you've ever, since I haven't read Game of Thrones, but I did read some of the Harry Potter books, and my wife dragged me to some of the movies. And as good as the movies are, it is a much more personal experience to sit there and visualize in your head of what you think those people are. In any book, in any fictional book, as someone who's done some writing. And yes, I am disappointed I only got 17,000 words done in my novel writing November, but that's not for here nor there. You can kind of visualize, what the weather, where you're playing. You control the narrative in your head while you're playing the cards. A nice game. You're literally, even if you round the corners, are flipping the pages. While the computer game gives you so much more of the visuals, it gives you the movie type view. You're missing some of the details of maybe recording the play like you would in a movie. You're not seeing how they got there. You can say in 2 lines with the shot behind you of how you got the first down or that, but you're also kind of locked into what the game shows you. Again, nothing wrong with that in any way, shape, or form. I'm just trying to say they're two different experiences, which kind of goes to my other point in this. There are plenty of cards and dice games that do a tremendous job in performing the sport that you want to portray. The Stratomatic versions of the Big Four have some sort of visual element, and so they're easier to show off. But when I'm doing, let's say, solitaire pro football, even if I was allowed to show off how I play it, or let me try to think here. Let's say motorsport, because I've done a couple Indianapolis 500s. Any of those, anything that is a pure let's fire up Excel and write the results down. I can visualize it in my head, like a bowling or a boxing or any of those, to give that kind of experience. But even as someone who's done as much content creation as I have, that doesn't mean that I can do a successful job to a casual person conveying what it is I'm exactly doing, which kind of sells the game short, because you might be looking for a video on, I guess a good example would be History Maker Golf. And it's one of those things that you can watch someone play and go, oh, that's nice, that's interesting. But when you play it, I'm told, it's a completely different experience. And I could probably, if you watch someone play a pure let's enter the results on a spreadsheet game, you're going to go, yeah, that's nice. And, again, Dave Gardner is very good because it's a community chat and it's much more than just the game experience. But as far as, okay, look at the card and find on the index what the score is or what happens on the possession, it's not the most exciting watching in the world. However, I think in some ways, because us content creators have kind of sell those games short, not because we don't like them or don't like them, but because it is such a personal experience when you play them that it's hard to convey unless you get something really exciting to someone that might be popping in and out for 5 minutes, as opposed to a computer game, which gives you the full experience. May not be with our hobby the most exciting graphical experiences of all time, but at least it's there. It gives you something to look at, and when you pop in late, you can see a score immediately and how much time, and kind of get a sense of what's going on, and pop in and out when you'd like. And so, yeah, I guess the basic premise is that cards and dice really are books. If you treat it like that, you are pulling out the book and telling yourself a story. And the good thing about cards and dice is that every story is different. I mean, if you look at the 7 years that we've done, or that I've done the season baseball season replays, I've had 2 real World Series winners and only 3, 4 of the 14 teams make the World Series. We've told a different story. You never know who is going to be the star of the show. And that's what makes if you go to the computer games, which is certainly Action PC Baseball, is that you're never playing the same movie twice. It's like the movie Clue, which turns 40 this year. 1985 really can't be 40 years ago, but it is. You never know what the story is going to be. And I think for me, in general, that's kind of why I don't really watch a lot of scripted stuff on television, because sports, you never know what's going to happen. And I think that's part of the beauty of why it works. There is no better drama than real life. Absolutely not. And in sports, you never know. And I think that when you know what's going to happen, you're going to sit there and go, yeah, okay, there's going to be a couple twists. Not sure how we're going to get there, but I have a general sense of how that's going to happen. And no. It is, as Al Michaels says, it's the greatest reality show on television is sports. And I think that. So yeah. So if you're looking for, I suppose, going back to being a content creator, Yeah, the cards and dice games do such a good job, but they're books. And so it's harder to pass that along. The other thing is, I mean, there's a great track and field game that I have that I absolutely love. They should play it more, but to show it off, if you're showing off a 100-meter sprint, you're going to take a half hour to show something that would have happened in 10 minutes or 10 seconds. Because my rule really is if it takes you longer to do something on the table than it does to actually, than if you had sat down and watched it, is it really worth doing? And in some cases, it absolutely is. But to make you sit through a half hour of running a race that in real life took 9.5 seconds, is it real captivating to watch for the whole show? So I guess that's what I'm trying to say. If you would like to suggest a topic for me to talk about in one of these little things, let me know in the comments. And so, what do we got coming up? Real World Series for 2025, the Blue Jays and Milwaukee, the two teams with the best records in their respective leagues, best of 7 series. If there's a game you'd like to see played between Christmas and New Year's, let me know. We can do that if I have it. And then once we flip the calendar to 2026, it's 1986. The Mets may be demoted to Tidewater, but don't tell RJL. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'm Ron Juckett. We'll talk to you the next time. So long, everybody.